Pharmacists, well, they're pleading with the state and territory governments to allow them to administer COVID vaccines to help end the so-called vaccine frustration. While 49 pharmacies in rural and regional Queensland are already delivering jabs, pharmacists in New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia are still waiting to be given the green light, despite many applying to join the rollout back in February. For more on this, I'm joined from Sydney by the President of the Pharmacy Guild of Australia, Trent Twomey. Trent, National Cabinet rubber-stamped this proposal back in April. Pharmacists were supposed to be involved in the rollout of Phase 2A. Why is it taking so long?
Oh, it's just bureaucratic red tape, Peter. I mean, we had the national strategy approved, as you said, all the way back in January. National Cabinet re-endorsed it again in April. There was a legitimate delay as production was ramping up, and we were expected to be receiving 1 million vaccines a week of the AstraZeneca variant out of the CSL factory. And in the first couple of weeks, it wasn't quite hitting its straps. It was only producing around 400,000. It has been producing over 1 million vaccines out of that facility now for well and truly over a month. The community pharmacy network was signed off not just by the Commonwealth but by all of National Cabinet to be access points for Australian consumers from Phase 2A onwards, which was supposed to be the beginning of this month. And then we have everything but excuses. And unfortunately, when we compare vaccine hesitancy, and you're alluding to that in your introduction, in Australia to other countries, we're leading the pack. We should be leading the pack in our vaccination rates. Yet we've only vaccinated, as of close of business yesterday, 3.2% of the adult population over the age of 16. And I hate all of these figures that I keep seeing on social media streams of our politicians, that, you know, today was another record day, 5.4 million vaccines given. It's not true. 5.4 million injections have been given. You are not vaccinated until you receive your second shot. And as of close of business yesterday, only 666,000 Australians, there's 26 million of us, only 666 Australians are vaccinated against COVID-19. It's just not good enough.
All right, Trent, I mean, I can't speak for the experience in other states, but in Victoria, just getting on the hotline can take 3 or 4 days of repeated attempts. I know people that have tried, friends of mine, up to 100 times to get through. Then, of course, you get the appointment. If you don't, you're like me, you roll up and wait 6 or 7 hours over 2 consecutive days a couple of weekends ago to get a jab. So I understand that a lot of people are willing to be vaccinated, but it's all just too hard. Why on earth then? What are the excuses that the government's telling you why they will not give this vaccine rollout to pharmacies? What's the reasoning?
The excuse that we're getting from the elected officials is the advice that we're receiving from the AHPPC, and you know what that is from your time in government, Peter. So the CMO and the CHO, so the Chief Health Officers and the Chief Medical Officers of all of Australia, they get together on the sidebars of National Cabinet, and that's who provides the advice up to National Cabinet. They're meeting again next Friday. And for goodness sake, we're pleading with the Chief Medical Officer of Australia, the Chief Health Officers of the states and territories to activate the 4,000 pharmacies you've already accredited. You've assessed them for infrastructure. Have they got consulting rooms? You've assessed them to see whether or not they're appropriately trained. And they've done the exact same modules through the Australian College of Nursing as your local GP has done. And you talk about hesitancy. 1 in 4 Australians, adult Australians over the age of 16, have not yet made their mind up. Now, if you're hesitant, you're not going to go through all of the rigmarole you've just highlighted. You're not going to get on an app or sit on the phone and make an appointment for 2 Thursdays' time. And talk about Victoria, the line that's been S-bending around outside that exhibition centre, that mass vaccination hub, it was declared a hotspot only 3 days ago. It makes no clinical sense, Peter, to put a large number of people in very large locations when you have a highly contagious disease. The right thing to do...
Well, I was at... Sorry, Trent, I was just going to say that very same centre you talk about was the one I went to, and I saw absolutely no social distancing. I mean, people had masks, but they were cheek and jowl in that line.
Yeah, and, you know, we learnt from the swine flu epidemic, right, when we were distributing antivirals in the state of Queensland. We utilised the community pharmacy network because the authorities, when they did, you know, the review of that epidemic back then, and this is, 20 years ago nearly now, more than 15 surely, we knew that it was better to have a decentralised approach because if we do have an event, If we do have an exposure, then we can quarantine it to a smaller number of people. So there's enough vaccine. There's enough vaccination sites. There's enough trained health professionals. What we've got too much of is vaccine hesitancy. And the only way to address vaccine hesitancy is to opportunistically vaccinate. So those 1 in 4 adult Australians who think, I haven't quite made up my mind yet. Is this right for me? Is this right for my family? I think I should probably have a conversation with a health practitioner first before I go through the effort of making an appointment, should be doing that at their local pharmacy. And I can tell you at my pharmacies in far north Queensland, I can tell you about my colleagues' pharmacies in the other 4,000 sites. We're getting hundreds of these inquiries every day. And what we should be able to do, once we walk them through the facts about AstraZeneca, the facts about Pfizer, is empower them to make their own decision about what's in their best interest. And if it's convenient and easy and safe for them to receive the vaccine right then and there, then we should be able to do so. And we are nowhere near, even with the accelerated vaccination rates in the past 7 days, of having the adult population who want to have a vaccine and who can have a vaccine, having those 2 shots before Christmas Eve. We're going to be running into Easter.
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go. Just very, very quickly, Trent. Are you expecting a new decision on Thursday?
So we're expecting a new decision at National Cabinet to activate the community pharmacy network. They've got 2 choices, Peter. It's very simple. They can keep dragging the chain and we'll get it done sometime next year, or they can activate all of them and we'll get it done this calendar year.
All right. As someone who's had plenty of vaccinations at a pharmacy, I'm very comfortable if they go down that path. Thank you for your time, Trent. We'll follow this up as well.
Thank you.